Hey there, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast, the show that's all about helping photographers just like you build a thriving business without sacrificing your sanity. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned full-time photographer and marketing coach, here to fill your earbuds each week with practical tips, real-life stories, and a whole lot of encouragement. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get to it because this girl means business. Hey friend, and welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast. Okay, now today's topic, in case you didn't notice by the title, is a little bit of a spicy topic, and not like romance novel spicy, but like spicy as in it's kind of a hot take, and I'm excited to dive into this. So this episode, just to kind of like pull back the curtain a little bit, so this episode topic was kind of the idea of two events in my day that overlapped that made me go, this is a really interesting topic to talk about. And I wanted to record an episode about it. So here we are. The first one was I was on a coaching call with a photographer today. One of the founding members inside the greenhouse, when they signed up as a founding member, they got a free 60-minute coaching call. So on our call today, we were having this conversation. We were talking about these two separate businesses that she runs, and both of them kind of with the idea that she is going to be moving across country soon, and how can she kind of expand her audience and expand her reach. And so we were having a conversation around that. And then about an hour later, I was just getting ready to work on some photos, edit some images, and I pulled up a podcast episode from a podcast I started listening to from these two ladies who have completely written off social media. So they teach kind of marketing off of social media, which, if you know me, is my favorite thing. And so I was listening to it, and it was an interview episode they did with someone who was talking about the idea of borrowing other people's audiences. And so I'm listening to this interview, and I'm thinking back to my conversation with my coaching client, and I'm like, this is basically the same conversation, the same idea. And it's such a smart idea, and it's such a simple idea. And I really liked the way that he kind of laid it out and explained it. And so I wanted to take what he was saying in the interview and then sort of put a photography spin on it. So essentially, like the title of this episode says, if you are wanting to grow your audience, there are basically two ways that you can do this. The first way is the way that most of us are doing it on a regular basis or semi-regular basis, which is organically. So the organic way of growing your audience is you are putting out content onto the internet or out into the world, or you are going out face-to-face and meeting with people, but you're doing everything kind of just on your own with the hope that you will get a few followers or a few people on your email list. And so that is one way to grow your business. It is a slow grow, because if you are putting out content on a blog and social media, and maybe you're going to a local networking group once a month, and maybe you are partnering with a local business to do a, headshot swap or something, then you are growing a little bit at a time. Now, the other way, let me back up. That first way is probably the most common way that people grow their business, but it's also one that a lot of people get frustrated with, especially because it requires you to create a lot of content. You essentially become a content creator as opposed to a photographer. And you're utilizing platforms like social media that you may not really actually enjoy being a part of. So if you are looking for a faster, easier, less stressful way to grow your business, then option number 2 is going to be a great option for you. Option number 2 is to grow your audience by leveraging and borrowing other people's audiences. It kind of reminds me of the book I bought in 2 years ago called Steal Like an Artist, which is this idea that, nothing is ever really new, that we're all just kind of repurposing other people's stuff. And so this idea that we are going to be able to create content that is so life-shattering and life-changing and amazing that people are going to take notice and it's going to go viral and we're going to get all of these followers and all of these email subscribers. It just doesn't really happen that way, at least not anymore. Every sort of avenue has had its heyday. Like blogging for a while, it had its moment. If you could become a popular blogger back in the early 2000s, then you probably could have built a really big audience organically. If you could have gone viral when social media first started having viral content, or when video content first came out, when TikTok first started, when Instagram Reels first started, you could have grown a natural organic audience by going viral. Same thing with YouTube and Facebook and all of these things. These days, it is so saturated that it's harder to break into those platforms and grow quickly the organic way. Now, there is the option too, where you could keep looking for the next shiny thing and hope that maybe the next big thing is some new platform and you're the first one on it and you get traction there, and that's great. But if you don't want to be always spinning your wheels that way, then the option too of borrowing other people's audiences is going to be a really stress-free-ish way to grow your following and grow your audience without having to feel like you're constantly having to create more and more content. So the example that was given in this podcast episode that I really liked, because it reminded me back of like my after school 4:00 Oprah days, is that back in the day, Oprah was the person. Like everybody knew who Oprah was. Every author wanted to be on Oprah's book club. Every business wanted to be on Oprah's favorite things. Like it was a big deal if Oprah recognized you, and it still is. But even back then, when she has like at the peak of like the height of her powers, she had a lot of control over who became the next big thing. And so she would have people on her show like Dr. Phil, who nobody knew who Dr. Phil was before he became a regular on her show, and then eventually had his own show. Dr. Oz, Rachel Ray, like these are all people that nobody knew about until they were on the Oprah show. And so what happened was Dr. Phil, who was this kind of no-name doctor, because he was able to leverage Oprah Winfrey's audience, then they eventually moved over and became his audience. He didn't go in and steal them. It wasn't like he was saying, you have to choose between me or Oprah. He was just saying like, hey, if you want to put me in front of your audience and they decide they like me and they trust me and they also want to come follow me, that would be awesome. And a lot of them did. The same concept, the same idea can apply to your photography business. I have done this kind of inadvertently. Like I've done it knowing sort of what I'm doing, but it wasn't my main strategy. But anytime that I have been approached to be a part of a summit or some kind of online, one of those things where it's like a bunch of photographers or a bunch of coaches get together and they all kind of offer some kind of discount or freebies that they give away, those are kind of the same thing. You are collectively coming together to say, we're going to borrow each other's audiences, because if 10 of us come together to all offer this really great thing and all 9 of you share my information with your audiences, and then I share your information with my audience, then we're reaching a new audience. So we're reaching 9 new audiences with that one, summit or that one online program that people sign up for. And the beauty of it is that you are only having to usually create one thing, and then all of these other people are sharing it out to their audience. And so it takes the pressure off of you to say, I don't want to be creating 20 different things or 100 different things. You can create the one thing and then get it in front of other people's audiences, and then they will now become your audience. So let's talk about how you can actually apply this in your photography business. So let's say you are a family portrait photographer. So you focus on families with young kids or school-age kids. And so your target audience is going to be local moms, right? They're the ones who are most likely booking the session, planning the sessions, all the things. So already there are tons of places in your community where your audience is already kind of grouped into one place. A perfect example of this is like moms groups on Facebook, or if there's a like a Mother's Day Out program at a local church or a private school. There's so many, and that's just like the tip of the iceberg. But there are going to be places where moms in your demographic, your ideal client, are already on someone else's email list, or they're already in someone else's social media following. So you need to figure out, okay, where are these audiences at? So an example might be, let's say there's a popular like mom influencer in your community, and there are hundreds or thousands of moms, local moms, that are following this one influencer because she shares about like local things to do with your kids or crafts or things to do over the summer break or whatever. This is a perfect audience for you to then borrow. So what you need to start with is create what I call a media kit. You can go onto Canva, you can type in media kit, and they will already have something available. And this is like a little PDF where you have information about who you are, what you do, and then what you have that you can offer their audience. And I like to suggest a couple of different things. So an example might be, I have a PDF guide of fun things to do around town with your kids, or I have a summer camp, guide that they can get, or I've created this like interactive summer break. I'm thinking all these things as we're on summer break, but summer break bucket list that they can like go online and check off. Like, it doesn't have to be anything major. Or maybe it is, hey, I'm really knowledgeable in these topics, and I would love to share this information with your audience. Let's collaborate. Let's talk about some ideas. And then you have this thing ready to go. So you already have kind of the information. You already have what it is that you're going to provide their audience, because you have to be able to give something of value. If you are just reaching out to people saying, hey, will you share about my photography services? They're going to say no, probably 95% of the time. And if they say yes, they're going to do it very half-heartedly because there's really nothing in it for them or their audience. But if you come in, you're like, hey, I have this really cool system for how I organize all the photos of my kids in my camera roll on my phone so that it's not overwhelming. I would love to come in and like teach your audience this, or share like my little PDF guide with them. Is that something you would be interested in? You're now pitching them something that is of value to them and their audience. And so they're going to be more likely to say like, yeah, absolutely. So think of something that you have that you can offer or talk about or share that is specific to what you do, but also is a little bit more broad in general. If you're going in saying, hey, I would love to come on and talk about 5 things to avoid during your family photo shoot, most likely they're going to be like, that's okay, but not all of my audience has booked a photo shoot. And it's not really relevant year round necessarily, because really fall, spring are kind of the main times. But coming in and saying, hey, I know that as a mom, it is so hard to like get your camera roll under control. Or I know how hard it is to create a system for your kids where they have chores and things that they have to do without it becoming this thing that you then have to like keep up with all the time and it becomes more of a chore for you. Let me teach your audience about this really cool system I've created, or this, way that I have for making this thing seem less difficult. And then while you're sharing this great value with their audience, you're also leading them back to your website, your social media, your email list, and you are turning their audience into your audience. Ideally, for me, I would want to then move them to my email list with some kind of free download or free guide or free something. So going along the example of, I will come in and I will teach your audience how to organize their camera roll and simplify their photography life on their phone. And then I have this free like little PDF guide that's kind of a bullet points of all the things I share with them and some bonus tips on how to organize things. And then they can go download that. They're now on your email list. So you've come into this other person's audience. So let's say she has 10,000 followers on Instagram. You are now getting in front of 10,000 people who didn't know who you were before. You're sharing value with them. You're giving them something that they can use and benefit from. And then you are asking them to then come be a part of your world. You're asking them to come onto your email list. You're asking them to come follow you on social media. And it is so simple to do. It does not require a ton of your time other than coming up with the topics and ideas and reaching out to these people. And again, it could be podcasters. It could be influencers on social media. It could be Facebook groups and saying like, hey, can I do this little training inside of the Facebook group? Or can you send this out to your email list? But the real work is in finding who has an audience that you want to tap into. and then creating a reason why they would want you to come in and be a part of their audience. But when you break it down into numbers, I could go and I could create content every day for 30 days and post on social media and create a blog post every single day and put things on Pinterest and create videos for TikTok and put out a podcast episode once a week. I can do all of those things, and I might get a couple followers on social media. I might get a couple people joining my email list. I might maybe get 20, 30 people on my email list by the end of the month. Or I can take one day and I can go into someone else's Facebook group and I can do a live video showing how, or talking about a topic or showing how I do something. Or I can have someone send out an email to their email list of 10,000, and maybe I get 300 people that could then come join my email list. Well, my time is way better spent pursuing those relationships and pursuing those other audiences than they are spinning my wheels, creating content and hoping that some people see it. So this strategy of borrowing other people's audiences, it's not a new strategy. People have been doing it for years. Podcasters have been doing it forever. I mean, that is the number one, like when I get pitches in my inbox every single day for someone to be a guest on this podcast, 99.999% of them are just doing it because they want access to my audience. They're not coming on for just the sake of like, we want to be generous and share information. They want access to my audience, and that's fine. And if there's someone who I feel like is a great fit, I will have them on. But podcasters have been doing this forever. YouTube people have been doing this forever. Like, this is not a new concept, but when you think about the photography space and industry, a lot of people are not doing this. And if you can tap into this idea of, let me find other people's audiences and let me borrow their audiences to grow mine, you could be growing your audience way faster than you could ever doing it organically. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode. I hope you found this helpful, beneficial. If you have questions or thoughts on this topic, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. You can head over to Instagram and find me at Girl Means Business, or shoot me a quick email at kendra@girlmeansbusiness.com. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. I will see you back here next week, same time, same place.